Welcome to Blue Collar Mystics, the under-the-hood approach to the depths of human consciousness. So many mysteries, so little time, so many big words. That's why we aim to take the mystical and make it practical, usable in your everyday life. And you know, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your story. What happened when you started asking yourself the real questions? Like, who am I? What is this? Is it a hologram? Is this some kind of weird cosmic joke? Hey, these are the questions that we are trying to get to the bottom of as we explore the final rabbit hole together here as Blue Collar Mystics. All right, everybody, here we are yet again, 22. That's a lot of twos. It's exciting. I'm here. I've got my co-host, Mr. James Thomas, also known as Admiral Hitzz. He's Hitzz from the Gong. He's got it behind him. We're really excited for this show tonight. I've got some amazing guests. Brian Larson of Mettaverse Music is with us. Our friend Isaac Benjamin is with us. We're going to really go in depth in this idea of vibration, which is something that honestly, I have a hard time understanding, interpreting this idea, so I'm really excited to get down into it. Maria is also a musician. She plays piano, so we're going to talk a little bit about 432 and 440 and some of these different frequencies and stuff, and get to the bottom of some of these things and how we can apply vibration in our everyday life. Really, really, really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you guys make sure that you are hitting up our Telegram. That is a great place to engage and chat with us. The link is in the description, so go check that out. Interact with everybody. We're streaming to so many places that we can't interact with everybody in all the places. So we want to ask you guys to hop in our Telegram. I'm going to be in LA this weekend, as it turns out. So if anybody is there, come and catch me at the Conscious Life Expo. I want to give a big shout out to our friend Ahmad, Muslim Mystic, for inviting me to come out and speak. I'm going to be talking with him and hanging out at the wonderful, sunny LAX Hilton, getting lots of fresh air there. So come and hang out if you're in the area. Without further ado, I want to start bringing some folks up into the stream. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. I will go ahead and pull in Mr. Brian Larson.
Oh, a little. It's a little gargly.
Oh, am I gargling?
Oh, there you go. There we go. Now it's better.
Okay.
I thought you were gargling for a second.
Sorry about that.
Owen, what in the world?
I'll try to contain myself. I was excited. Well, welcome, my friend. Tell people a little bit about your channel, what you're doing, healing people, or as with music as medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, so I started the channel a few years ago. I think I actively started posting about it 2.5 years ago. And I just kept working on it. I kept writing music because I've always been a musician. I've been more of like a kind of a rock type musician, playing a rock band and stuff. But just to rewind a little bit, I really got into meditation, and I started listening to meditation music, and I'm like, I can do this. And so I started to compose just different arrangements, experiment with some frequencies, and the channel just kind of grew and grew, and yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time. I love your work. It's awesome. For anybody who doesn't know, go type in METTA verse music into YouTube. Go check that out. I want to go ahead and welcome my good friend, Mr. Isaac Benjamin. He is an RN and working really hard, and he's got some amazing stuff to share with us. He's going to give us a little demo of a machine in his basement. Welcome, Isaac.
Thanks for having me, Owen.
Absolutely, man. You want to tell people real quick about your upcoming podcast?
Well, yeah, I'm going to re-release. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. So I have like 3 listeners the first time I released it. But I did 10 episodes. They're about 10 minutes each, just kind of giving a frontline perspective of just what I've kind of seen. I try to stay middle ground, but I'm definitely pro medical freedom. So you'll definitely hear tones of that in the first 10 episodes. But yeah, I'm working to get it on Buzzsprout and like Apple Podcasts, so people can just, basically my Facebook friends had access to it the first go around, and I was just basically kind of test running and just felt on my heart like there's just so much, they call it they label so many different things misinformation, and whether you agree with me or not, I mean, the bottom line is I've been there and I'm just trying to report what I've seen. But season 2, I actually like more because it's not just my thoughts and opinion. I've already interviewed a physical therapist assistant about his experience. He had a heart condition, so didn't feel comfortable taking the COVID vaccine, but had a lot of coercion and denials and all these things he had to go through. And, bottom line was he's like, I'm not going to take this shot. Like, you can end up firing me or not. And eventually it got approved because, the doctor that I just got established with, he actually referred me to him. He's just a really open-minded doctor. And when you walk into his office, it's basically a sign that says mask or no mask. We treat everyone. So it's just nice to have a doctor that's just like, this is what we do, treat sick people. We're not going to, and I've basically, just as myself, I was, because of the pandemic and just the stuff I've had to, experience, having a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, trying to get in with a therapist. And even with a medical exemption myself, because I have Lyme disease and have weird reactions to vaccines, I had therapists that under no condition would see me unless I was vaccinated. It's like, so I was a frontline hero before. Well, it's tough for me. It's not really a vaccine, but that's a whole different topic. But, yeah, it was really kind of frustrating trying to find help. And it's like, before there was this shot, I was a hero, but as soon as the shot came out, and as a medical professional, want some long-term data, at least, especially for Lyme disease patients and stuff that they definitely didn't study in these clinical trials. Like, just before I feel comfortable, I've seen enough people with COVID, and, it might get some young people, but personally, it was a very specific body type and age group of people that were dying from COVID. So it's kind of like I knew what I was up against. And so, yeah, the podcast, season 2, like I said, there's a physical therapist assistant. I haven't recorded it yet, but actually a coworker of mine that we were pretty close, she was unvaccinated, had to be intubated with a breathing tube. I took care of her, and she did fine. I mean, not fine, but she made it, and she's fine now. But she's, she said she's willing to share her experience. So I think that's just a really neat perspective that you just can't get out there anywhere else. So hoping to re-release episode 1 in anticipation, but yeah, starting to line up stuff to interview other scrubs that are in the trenches.
That's awesome.
The scrubs and the scrubs.
That's great, man. That's great.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Really, really excited about that. I'm going to bring in the lovely, wonderful, and talented Maria West. Welcome, Maria. I'm really excited.
Hello, Love Bug. Thanks
awesome.
for having me.
It's always always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. A pianist, musician extraordinaire. We're going to get into the difference between 432 and 440 Hertz a little bit at your request, which is awesome because there are some coinciding things to that as well, which we kind of discovered earlier. So really excited about that. Bringing in our friend Lehman Dotlins. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And last but not least, Miss Abby Johnson. How you doing, Abby?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Doing good. It's a full house tonight. We got a big party here.
I was going to say, it's a party.
Yeah. We got the gong behind James. Brian's got guitars, and Isaac has got something that he's going to demonstrate for us. We're going to have a little bit of a demonstration on some of this vibration. Actually, if you wouldn't mind, Isaac, talking a little bit about your experience with Lyme and how you discovered vibrational therapy.
Yeah. So 10 years ago, there's so many different just schools of thought on Lyme. I've had an infectious disease doctor try to tell me that deer ticks don't exist in Georgia, and I'm like a country boy, and I'm just like, all right, I'm calling BS right there at that moment. I'm not listening to another word you say. But I did get, whether it was Lyme or not, I've got a tick-borne illness that came from ticks in my backyard, and the first 6 months, I really there's so much information out there. I really try to stick with the CDC, so I wouldn't get conflicting information. But whenever the CDC guidelines didn't really align with what I was experiencing, being a nurse and having a medical background, it was just like, this infection's not gone. Like, I would take antibiotics, feel a little bit better, but as soon as I stopped antibiotics, within 5 days or less, sometimes the Lyme would just flare back up. So it took me about 6 months of this roller coaster of antibiotics off antibiotics. And I did have some good help, and doctors try to, get me through the beginning, but I just definitely wasn't. I'd take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, it would feel like. So I kept coming across this thing, Rife machine, but specifically a Doug Coyle Rife machine that just lots of different people in Lyme communities, like, and I had a book. It was like the top 10 Lyme disease treatments. And, in the top 5, he kind of had it separated top 5 and second, the bottom 5. But in the top 5, the Doug Coyle Rife machine was one of his things that he talked about being, very important in healing Lyme, because antibiotics attack the bacteria a certain way, and the Rife machine actually attacks the bacteria through frequency. So depending on what frequency you use the Rife machine, and they don't really study it a lot, but you can YouTube video like Doug Coyle Rife machine zapping bacteria or bugs, and that some of that stuff might have got shadow banned at this point, but it's like it'll show organisms on a petri dish kind of just swimming around, and they'll turn on the Rife machine, and then these things will basically, if it's the Lyme spirochete, it'll basically shake violently until it stops moving. Or I've seen it do other kind of organisms where it's basically like an amoeba looking thing, and they basically just start shaking themselves, and then the cell wall bust open and all its innards pop out. So after about 6 months of doing the antibiotic roller coaster, I think I spent $1,800 total on this piece of equipment. So it was something that it's like, man, I really want to do this, but the 1800s, and 10 years ago that was like $3 million. Just kidding. But it was just a lot of money to invest in a machine that it's like, being a nurse, it's like, this is kind of a leap for me, but the Lyme was just so terrible. I'm like, I don't care. And I got to the point, I don't care if I waste this money and it doesn't work. I got to try something, because what I'm doing isn't working. So finally took the leap, bought it, and I tried to attack the Lyme with so many different things, and I did find a specialist that gave me IV antibiotics, but I genuinely felt like I would not have healed and it still took years, but it's like there's definitely something that happens in the body when I use the Rife machine, and it's really strange because I just found out one of the main frequencies and one of the golden standard frequencies for treating Lyme disease is 432. And talking to Brian before the show started, it's like that's just a vibrational frequency that is, I guess, very well known for healing for other stuff. So just kind of neat how it all comes full circle, and that we're all energy, we're all vibration. So
and the Rife machine is radionics, correct?
It is whatever cell phones emit, electromagnetic
EMF. Okay.
EMF, yeah.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Just whenever you're ready, and I could do a quick demonstration, or
Sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome. If you wouldn't mind.
So I'll
I got you muted so that you can move around a little bit. And yeah, and you know, while we're getting set up for this little demonstration, I do want to point out everything being vibration. It's kind of a abstract concept, but our very own is someone who I think knows this.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is like a copper wire coil. And actually, I just recently decided to do this. I put water in a metal cup and try to charge my water. So I've been drinking frequently, water that's at a certain frequency to get it inside my body. You know, I don't know if it does anything, but hey, it's not hurting anything. And then this is, so this is a frequency generator. We will turn that on, and it is set to 432 because that is one of the frequencies I just, like I said, it's kind of.
Oh, and you're muted.
So I can't seem to get Isaac's thing to work either.
Hey, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. There you
Okay.
go.
Where did y'all lose me at? Sorry about that.
Pretty early on, actually.
Okay. So y'all saw the coil. This is the frequency generator. This is the coil machine. So depending on the frequency, you do a different combination of switches, and this is a guitar amplifier. So in theory, the Doug coil rife machine is hooked up to the copper wire coil, and in the back, it's just they're all kind of connected. But the frequency generator, you program what frequency. This is like stuff they use in a high school tech lab. And then the guitar amplifier actually amplifies the copper wire coil to vibrate. And then I'll just turn it on real quick. I just turn this one knob. But are y'all able to hear that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is vibrating. And I kind of just sit about 2 or 3. I usually just set it on this table and lay on the bed I have down here in the basement. It's kind of my therapy room. And then I'll just do one more frequency to just kind of show you it sounds different. So the highest frequency that they say is recommended, just because if you get too high frequencies, you might zap red blood cells or something.
Yeah.
So we don't want that. But
is that the 11th harmonic?
It's just 2200, and ironically, it's February 2nd. So, and then that combination is H, K, L, M, O, and then I turn the knob, and then that frequency you can tell is a lot higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically it. Do y'all have any questions or?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm just blown away that that works. That somehow we are all vibration. Like this is definitely an idea that I have a really hard time interpreting. Like it makes sense. I feel vibrations. I feel emotions, but quantifying it is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I think for me, like when you look at something like cymatics, or how a certain frequency applied to a medium will create the pattern of a tortoise shell, all through sound applied to sand or something. it's amazing. So that I mean, that's kind of like a real tangible way of showing that patterns our material reality is a result of sound and vibration.
It's pretty crazy to think about, but yeah, I guess we do see a lot of those very same shapes and symbols all over nature, right? Like, is that a result of like the golden mean? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Yeah, the golden mean, and there's as far as how the golden mean interacts with something with a frequency like 432, I guess, which we could get into a little more. I think in principle that there's a mathematical harmony to the universe. So, and the mathematical harmony is musical harmony. And I mean, when you look at sometimes, like, I was really into vortex mathematics, like trying to figure it out in my head, which I'm still trying to figure it out. But I'm like looking at some of the number patterns and how it's basically the universe mirroring itself back to each other. When you look at these mathematical patterns, it's really extraordinary. Sorry, went off on a tangent.
No, that's cool. It's interesting.
Have you ever heard of this? These are like Somavedics is what they're called.
Oh, okay.
And I bought one, and I really kind of thought it was snake oil. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I paid the money for it. But they restructure water, so
cool.
It's the whole cymatics thing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but the first night I plugged it in, I closed my eyes and I realized it wasn't snake oil, because behind my eyelids, where you normally see kind of like static when you close your eyes, it was all these 3-dimensional shapes, and they were dancing and moving, and they kept making these really swirling, awesome patterns. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is where it's restructuring me, the water inside my body.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. That's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, I keep trying to get James to to talk a little bit, because I mean, dude, I had such an amazing experience inside your spaceship, and I really I got the sense that I really was, whatever that tone was that you were playing. I mean, it was open. My mouth just kind of opened by itself, and I was just like oming or making this chant sound that matched the frequency of whatever the hell it was that you were playing. And I know that a lot has gone into what you do with it, that each one of those gongs is going at a frequency different. Like, so our brain wave states, for instance, are like alpha and gamma and all these different like frequencies. And each one of the gongs, if I'm not mistaken, is resonating at one of those brainwave frequencies. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, and it's kind of funny that you brought that up, because the one gong that you were responding most to was the Mercury Gong, which is represents communication, represents that third chakra, which corresponds with the third law of vibration, and Mercury represents that communication and that third chakra. So you were responding heavily with the use of that particular gong, and it was neat to kind of see that play out, because we had 8 other ones that were being played in that at that time, and that 9th one was the one you really responded to well. But the third law of vibration, or the third cosmic law of vibration, states that nothing is at rest. And, no matter if it seems like it's at rest, it's vibrating so slow that you just think it's standing still. Also, too, going back to that 432, what makes 432 so special is it's a whole number. So when you talk about going from 440, you hit multiple decimals in the breakdown division of those notes. And when you get to that 432, you hit all whole numbers.
Yes.
And there's something about having a complete number and not a fractionized number that kind of brings a little bit of harmony to the note structure. Does it actually change the quality of the notes? There's a lot of speculation on that, but there's definitely a harmonizing factor from that 432.
Yeah, that's interesting. That was something that Mario wanted to talk about, actually, and it's something that I've heard a bit about, here and there, scuttlebutt, as you might. But would you mind kind of going into that a little bit, Mario?
Sure. So I had a very wonderful piano teacher who had a piano that was tuned to 432. And so it was a very distinctive, it was not a subtle difference that I experienced. And over the years, what's happened for me is I've had several different grand pianos that I have requested tuners to tune to 432, and they look at me like I have four heads. And it's just very strange. And then when I started looking into sound healing, doing vibrational medicine and all that kind of stuff, I was actually gifted a series of Tibetan bowls by a monk.
Oh,
He
wow.
told me that they were calibrated to 432.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
to really to foster a certain reverence for it, which I thought was really cool. And several years later, I inherited a series of crystal bowls, and they were calibrated at 440. And the difference, it was like night and day. I ended up gifting the crystal bowls away because what was the point? It was very, a lot of people say they can't tell the difference. I most definitely can.
That's cool.
Yeah. With my music, a lot of times I have to record it unless there's a feature on the plugin I can tune it, but I have to record it in 440 and then tune it down to 432. And so I always hear the audible difference. And so I can always, it always, I don't know if maybe I'm biased.
I think I'm biased as well.
Does it feel more pure, or like what's the
Yeah,
difference?
I would say so.
Yeah. For me, it's a synesthesia response, kind of. It's a energetic shape, texture type response.
Yes, I agree.
So yeah.
And it just is blown
round.
Yes.
It's curvy. It's
Oh man,
yeah.
Yes, it's round and it's more fluid. It's more fluid.
Absolutely.
And my mind's being blown because I've used 432 as a frequency on my Rife machine for 9-10 years at this point, and it's the first time I'm hearing about it besides my research from Lyme. So
and Mozart was into 432, so it can't be all that bad.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting how and even when you break down, when you find the what is it, the whole number of each octave of 432, it always equals 9. And then the significance of the number 9 in vortex mathematics, and not to mention when you tune to A444, which is C528, which goes to 369. So it's just crazy tangent.
No, it's really cool. Yeah. People are asking a little bit about Hemisync, using binaural beats and stuff like that. Is that something that you know about, Brian?
Yeah. So you basically have 2 different frequencies, one in each ear, and then your brain calibrates the difference, and so you'll hear. So if one frequency is 108, the other frequency is 110, your brain will calibrate and it'll be a 2 Hertz frequency, which will be a delta brainwave, I believe. I should know this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very, and different people say different things about whether or not to listen to the pure binaural beat or whether or not it's effective with music. So I try to, with my music, I try to mix it in so it's still effective, but I'm not sure. I think it's a preference thing. I'm biased toward music.
I like music too. I mean, all day I listen to music. I was talking to a friend of mine, Gina, the other day, and I was like, I don't understand the vibration. She's like, just call it something different. You don't have to call it that.
Yeah, just feel it. Just feel it. How does it feel?
Yeah. And all day, man, I am listening to music. I love it so much. Like, it helps to just propel me. It makes me feel better. Of course, we dance and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing what the healing power of music can do.
Even I'm terrible at music, so I just bought a machine that has a guitar amplifier. So like the Rife machine, it's so crazy to me. It has a guitar amplifier as part of the.
So is it like a Fender, or is it like a twin reverb, or is it a good amp? Or
I mean, it's about like I said, it was part of this $1,800 or whatever it costs. So I think cool. You get a discount. Like the guy I bought the Rife machine from, he probably gets a little commission. So it was like the frequency generator and the amplifier. You get a little bit of discount, but I think it was around like $700. Like it was one of the more, or $600. And I don't know about music, but is that an expensive amp?
It depends on size and if it's a tube amp. I now geek out over gear.
1850 HD. Does that mean anything?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It must be. I would imagine it might be like a solid state amp, but for that purpose. But that's cool. That's really cool, though. It's very cool.
Before I know you got to go and you have a limited time, Isaac. Can you talk a little bit about, kind of your experience using vibration as a therapy to treat Lyme disease?
Yeah, and kind of how I touched base earlier. Just I'd gone through antibiotics. Lyme disease just really seems to be entrenched, and I mean, there's a bunch of different theories, but apparently the Lyme disease bacteria can be a spirochete form, a cell wall deficient form, which is kind of like mycoplasma pneumonia, if you've ever heard of that. It's also been called walking pneumonia. And then there's a cyst form. So the cyst form is basically when your body's health is getting to a certain point. And I just recently discovered this. I hadn't had a problem with Lyme disease in 4 years. I was actually letting other people in like my parents' community borrow the Rife machine, because I kind of thought like, I got through it. Yay. I beat it. But apparently the Lyme had been in a cyst form, which is asymptomatic, kind of in remission. But then I got the flu before Christmas, and it, I guess reactivated and made it either a spirochete or cell wall deficient form. So I used the Rife machine pretty religiously after I got it, about once a week. But I could definitely tell that was when I turned the corner. And I hit my disease with a lot of things because, I was starting a family, and it's like, I don't have time to not be able to work. I gotta do something to get better. And it's kind of defeats kind of mainstream medicine thinking, but, I can feel it. So it's like, I don't Rife too much, because if you Rife too much, you kill off too much of the bacteria. It releases toxins into the bloodstream, and you have something called a Hertz reaction, which was first observed hundreds of years ago with a different spirochete, syphilis. Like doctors would basically pop syphilis lesions, put ointment on it, and the patients would get like fever, night sweats, chills. But the patients that went through these reactions, actually their wounds healed quicker and they got better quicker. So this doctor theorized that it was like the biotoxins and the breakdown of the bacteria itself. Basically you kill the bacteria and all the nasty stuff in the bacteria gets released in the bloodstream. And your body, once it clears those toxins, you feel better on the other side. But I definitely have experienced throughout, 9, 8 years ago when I was really doing my Rife machine, I experienced then these Hertz reactions. And then more recently when I've brought the Rife machine back out, luckily I got it back right when I started having this Lyme relapse, and it took me a minute to kind of realize I was having a Lyme relapse. But, I brought out the Rife machine and could use it, and I've kind of had to learn like, I can't really use this Rife machine too aggressively days before work, because actually that next day after using it, I can tell that it's killed off killed off a lot of the spirochetes and bacteria, or it's given me cancer. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I doubt it, because I do feel better days 2 and 3. Like, it lines up with the research. And Lyme, like, there's Lyme literate doctors that literally, if you try to go to the hospital and get help for Lyme disease, that infectious disease doctor told me, he'll treat me with IV antibiotics when I develop 3rd-degree heart block or start having seizures. And I don't know about you guys, but that's a little late to the ball game. It's like, you can't, like, a 2nd-degree heart block give me, IV antibiotics. Like, we gotta wait till 3rd degree. Like, when I need a pacemaker, like, it just seems a little extreme, bro. But yeah, so like I said, the doctors I work with, some of them seem interested. Some of them look like, I have 4 heads, because it's just nothing that they've been taught in medicine. And just to kind of go off on a little tangent, it's kind of funny. This Royal Rife guy that developed it is called a healing beam or something. It's not exactly designed like this. But when he came out with this, a lot of the medical community was really behind his back. And then one of his advocates for his machine, who had been healed by it, mysteriously died. And all of a sudden, like, all these people that were for him, the American Medical Society or whoever it was back in the day, just all of a sudden turned on him. And, I think his career was ruined in less than a year. And there's theories that it was, the pharmaceutical companies kind of, and, coordinated all this. And it's just strange how, things repeat itself. The pharmaceutical company always has it out for alternative therapies that take money out of their pockets, because, being the biggest industry in the world, they don't make enough, I guess. I don't know.
Well, cures aren't profitable.
Yeah, this is a really good time just to let everybody know that this podcast is sponsored by Pfizer. So just so everybody knows, we're all on the same page here.
Yeah.
Well, they use Rife machines to treat cancer, don't they? I mean, my body worker, she uses a Rife machine, and she heals people. Supposedly, like, she has a blood sample from a bunch of people, and she heals them remotely.
Yeah, and this Royal Rife, some of his patients way back in the day, like, that was some of the people he healed for cancers. And he had theories, and HPV is known to cause cervical cancer, and he had theories that certain viruses cause certain cancers. And like I said, he seemed like a brilliant guy, but all of a sudden, and who knows what really happened, but, a big advocate of his mysteriously dies. And they have the smoking gun to be like, oh, your technology is dangerous. Nobody can use this, even though he had already, like, people were praising him, and he had, success stories with cancer patients that, like, they were at death's door, and his magic beam or whatever it was called, like, these people got healed from it.
The same thing happened to Wilhelm Reich with the orgone generator, or the orgone accumulator, where he discovered orgone energy. I'm definitely not an expert in it, but same thing happened to him. He was thrown in jail. He died mysteriously.
Yeah, and on that note, before I get killed, no. I didn't show that. Actually, this is all a prop. None of it's real. I've never used it before. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Not medical advice.
It's not.
We love the algorithm,
All hail the algorithm.
Absolutely. Well,
and sorry, I wanted to just before I left ask Abby. So what was that thing that you had that made your brain see colors? I love seeing colors.
It's called a Somavedic, Somavedic, and they're super. I got it because it's supposed to help mitigate 5G network and a lot of the electromagnetic frequencies. So because I'm all about alternative ways to keep yourself healthy. So then I bought it and I get it and I'm like, the day I got it, I regretted it. I was like, why did I spend all this money on this thing? You know, because it supposedly has crystals in it and oils, and it's supposed to resonate at a certain frequency, but it is supposed to, like, you just have 20 centimeters away from it. You just keep your glass of water next to it and it restructures your water. But that night, it's only happened to me twice, but that's never happened to me before. And I've done psychedelics, you know, so my eyes were closed. And I mean, at one point I saw a 5-pointed star and all these little shapes just dancing around it. Every time I'd close my eyes, it was the most amazing thing. And I was completely sober.
Yeah, that's just real interesting. And it's funny that you say something about 5G. With my Lyme disease, when it flares up, like I can be laying in bed and my kid will come up next to me with an iPad and I can like feel it.
You
like,
feel it.
Like when my Lyme disease.
I'm an IT, and that's why I needed to do it, because I got one from my office as well, because it's like I started feeling really I couldn't focus.
Yeah, because I get brain fog with Lyme disease, and it's like almost I feel more dumber whenever, you know, like a iPad comes up and next to my head.
You sound educated. So
I get that.
Yeah, when my kid uses my, you know, the kid uses my head as his iPad kind of prop table, you know, it's like, man, this don't feel good.
Right. No, that's awesome, man. I think it's really, really cool and amazing. As soon as you got that thing and started messing with it, I was kind of fascinated by it. So I really appreciate the demo.
Yeah, of course. And I appreciate y'all having me on. And yeah, unfortunately, it's past my bedtime. But I do really appreciate y'all having me on and letting me kind of do my spiel first.
Absolutely. Yeah, great to see you, Isaac.
Yeah, great to meet all y'all. And
Thanks, Isaac.
yeah,
Thank
I will. Hopefully, we'll be in touch. And Abby, I might get Owen to get us together so I can kind of talk to you more about that.
That'd be great. I would love that.
Yeah, it seems really interesting. So, well, thank y'all again, and y'all have a great night. Y'all are beautiful people.
You too, Isaac.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks,
Night, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah, folks, if you're watching the stream, go make friends with Isaac on Facebook. I put his profile link in the show notes, and he's excited to share some of his experiences in medicine, just frontline perspectives. He's a very, in my opinion, balanced person. I really appreciate him being around through the past couple of years, because with all this different information coming in, it's hard to know what to trust or who to believe or any of that. And to be able to have somebody who's right down the street working on this and telling me what his experience was, it was a lot. It was really helpful, and I'm really grateful for him. He's been an awesome. He's an awesome person. He's a good friend. So go check him out. Yeah, and that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that. You know, that could have been the big finish, the wee, because it's very high pitched. You know, like it's like, but you know, we have our monitors shatter. Everything shatters. But there are so many instruments of vibration that show vibration. Like Brian's got all the guitars on the back behind his wall, and you know, keyboards and harps and all kinds of different things. And even our bodies are basically tuning forks, just kind of like going around picking up on stuff. And I'd love to just open up the chat about this idea. How do people experience this in everyday life, and how can we figure out what vibration we're at, and how can we elevate that vibration?
Hi, my name is Lehman. I'm the biggest tuning fork in the world. So, Brian, the last 48 hours, I've been going through your catalog, listening to all your stuff, and I got to say, I love the ambient, atmospheric tracks that you do. They're great. Thanks. So, this morning I decided to throw the headphones on and go to the basketball court. And I had a very interesting experience. So I'm listening to your tracks and I'm shooting baskets while at the same time I'm practicing a transurfing technique where you are aware of your surroundings and your thoughts at the same time. It's like your center point.
Mhm.
And after a couple of minutes of shooting and focusing on that center point while listening to the music, it was as though I was immersed in a soup of the morphogenic field.
Mm.
It like
Mhm.
everything seemed very fluid. It was definitely like the ultimate flow state.
Wow.
And as I was dribbling around, I felt lighter and lighter the longer I was in it. It was intoxicating, really. And believe me, I'm going to try to do it again tomorrow. So I just wanted to, that's how I experience it.
Wow. I love hearing that. Thank you so much for it. Really, it means so much to hear like how it affects people like that. And when like you talked about the flow state, that's exactly the kind of how it feels to write when I really get into it. You know, it is that morphogenic field, its color, its shape and texture, and it's all kind of just coming together. And it's the zone, and like to know that it conveys that to other people is like the best thing I could possibly hear. That's so cool.
I think there's so much truth to the idea of the transference. I've heard people call it a law before, know, but when you're around somebody who is in a great mood, they're peppy. Well, depending on where you're at, sometimes it's annoying, right? But like usually it rubs off and it's positive, But I mean, we're all in those different kind of places, but the idea of environment and what you do and how you do it, that intention, I do believe it does come through in the recordings. We want to talk about that a little bit and how you kind of what you put into that music.
Yeah. Boy, blood, sweat, and tears. Well, no. I mean, actually, my whole life, because I've been a musician. Would play in a rock band, which is great. Amazing guys, and we had a lot of fun. But I just kind of went through a lot of dark nights of the soul, and a lot of drank heavily, did all the rock and roll stuff, and then started to have kind of my spiritual awakenings, or whatever it means to have a spiritual awakening. But and those were crazy, and then so I basically just used my previous music experience to help make relaxing music, because I was listening to a lot of meditation channels on YouTube. I'm like, I can do this. I'm going to do this. So I started to kind of make my own medicine. And the more I got into it, the more it just started to flow, and it transformed me. And I saw how it was transforming other people. And it just became something that just started to channel through me, basically. But yeah. So that's kind of,
so I thought I discovered sound healing.
Yeah.
So a friend turned me on to the gongs in a parking lot of Grateful Dead concert, and
Awesome.
I didn't know people use these things to heal. So
Yeah.
I resonated with the gong, and in my first tour, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people were reporting things to me that were absolutely miraculous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, people were like, "Is this Buddhist?" I'm like, "No, we invented this. This is us, right?" And so I got to a point where I kind of pissed off a lot of people, because they worked hard to get to where they are, and we were running around just doing some crazy stuff. And but it is back to transference. That transference, Owen. what that really is resonation. There's a concept with middle C. If you have a middle C tuning fork and you whack it and you run it across all the strings on the piano, only the middle C string is going to ring because of that tuning fork.
Yeah.
And so that's what you call, and that's resonance at its most simplest form. And that's that transference you're talking about. If somebody's on a low vibe or a high vibe, you're going to resonate with that, and that's going to bring you up. And thought and vibrations more than music. It's thoughts, it's action.
Yeah.
It goes a lot deeper than tones. It can be broken down to its most common denominator through music.
Yeah.
But ultimately, every thought that you have is a vibration. So raising your vibe means to raise your thoughts, to raise your action. And music plays through and into that. But we're creating music in our brains all day long with the symphony of a succession of thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, it's a sort of a mental and emotional alchemy process of like being in the zone, but life happens and, struggles and all this other stuff kind of therein that sort of try to stifle creativity. But then you learn how to alchemize that and learn how to use that in your music to make it more authentic, to make it, well, not more authentic, but just to kind of put in that human energy. Like it's not all unicorns and rainbows and puppy farts, like it's music and sound healing is real life. It's all about processing our emotions. It's all about going through the shadows, facing those dark nights of the soul. Yeah.
So I had a healing in a dream with a tuning fork.
Mm.
And I didn't even know people did this. Like I didn't know that you could go in and have somebody do the tuning forks and have them, do it on your chakras. But I'm sleeping and I dreamt that I was laying down, on a table and a man hit a tuning fork and put it on my right hip.
Wow.
So it was bizarre. So I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, because I always check body parts on acupuncture chart too, as well. But I'm wondering, what that corresponds with like the tree of life.
Yeah. It is. Things are so interconnected. It's really crazy. Like 528, which is another frequency that is really, really interesting. But the light spectrum is so. Wait, the color spectrum of 528 is chlorophyll. The light spectrum from 528 is related to the sun. So it's just kind of interesting how it all interplays, how it's all connected. It really is. I mean, even just with, astrologically, it's just how crazy things line up based on the alignment of the planets and stuff. And I'm realizing like, wow, this is really real. And then how that affects our real world and how we interpret that. And the same can be applied to frequency and how it's all interrelated. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like all the gongs on my spaceship are all tuned to the planetary frequencies. And some mathematician by the name of Hans Cousteau figured out what a planetary body's orbit around the sun in one turn or one cycle would be. And then obviously it's an astronomical number that nobody can hear. But then brought that down to an octave of which, a human ear can hear. And those frequencies, man, like when I first started this work 14 years ago, I really was skeptical of, the Mars and sun and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But those frequency tunings are legit. I've seen a lot of amazing things happen inside there, and usually, you come to find out someone will come out and say they were struggling with this or that, and
Mhm.
it has a direct correspondence to one of the heavy vibrations that were being laid out.
Mhm.
That's very that's we're talking about correspondence. The
Mhm.
second
Right.
law, second
Right.
cosmic law of the universe, right? And
Yeah.
all of them intertwine, right? That none of them
Yeah.
are happening without the others.
And also our ability to manifest, even our how our ability to interpret what we're hearing and to even think what we're hearing will help with something. And because of our power to manifest our reality and to heal ourselves, that's what is actually doing it. I mean, the frequency is doing it too, but the manifestation power is what's really like kicking in.
Well, I mean, there's a couple things going on. A lot of people who come through my experience, aren't
Mhm.
looking to manifest anything. They're not.
Oh, sure, sure.
They're not coming to be healed.
Yeah,
They think they're hopping on a roller coaster ride.
yeah, 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 yeah,
They're,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
actually not in that mode, and
Sure.
kind of what happens with us is we kind of like look over here, and while
Yeah.
we're looking over there, we shut down their mind, and that vibration will rip through their body, and we always say the sound gives you what you need. Right?
Yes, that's beautiful.
It's,
Beautiful.
if somebody has a hurt back, well, their back feels better, and we can't tell people this because it sets expectations, right? And
Hmm.
we trick them in, and then all of a sudden they come out and they're like, "Man, I haven't slept in 3 days. I feel great."
Yeah.
But the vibration, in the sense, it really comes down to thought. Everything
Mhm.
happens back to mentalism,
Mhm.
first cosmic law of the universe.
Mhm.
And if you go think about a business plan, right? And you spend like 6 months studying your every aspect of your business, doing all the threat and risk assessments, all these things, how you're going to who you're serving, what you're doing. Ultimately, they're just actually practicing hermeticism,
Mhm.
but they've taken the hermeticism out of it. And so really what they're
Right.
doing is attuning themselves, attuning their vibration, and literally bringing themselves to the object or the creation of which they desire.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so you can, you're creating every minute and every
Yes.
second of every day, and every conversation, and every moment of silence and action and non-action. And so what most people are doing with this creation is they're creating their own misery.
Hmm.
And so
Precisely.
this is where I really work really hard to make people aware of how they're using their thoughts, because ultimately your imagination is your power, and your emotions are your power, and your imagination is your magic, and it's your focus is what allows you to create with that, and that is the vibration, that is the high vibration that allows you to be the powerful being that you are in the moment. And getting control of those thoughts is the first step to that manifestation, or what I like to refer to more, as I'm tired of that word, is actualization, making it
Oh, I
happen,
love that. I
make,
love that.
making
I
it
love
real.
that. I love
And
that.
so, and that's, I feel like that's an abused word. It's like
Mhm.
manifesting. Yeah, go ahead, manifest. But
Yeah.
like, what you really want to do is actualize it, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
that all comes through with the thought. And
Yeah.
every day, the deeper I am in my thoughts, and in resonation with the things that I want, the closer I get to them.
Yeah.
And that is really what vibration means to me, is controlling your mind, controlling your thoughts, realizing that everything outside of you is you. It's
Hmm.
just that vibration.
Hmm.
And so you have to come into attunement or resonation with all of that. It's all here to serve you, and you know, enjoying this ride, and not utilizing the worst parts of it, because it's there to teach you too.
Yes,
Right.
the
That's so
enjoyment
right on.
is really important. The pleasure principle. And
Hmm.
I think in addition to the pleasure principle is really owning the fact that the leading edge of materialization, actualization, manifestation, they're not yet seen. So we have to be focused on, in transurfing. It's
Hmm.
the final frame. How do you want to feel? What is the thought quality that you are emanating? What's your emotional countenance? What are your actions? Are they inspired or are they drudgery? To be like really attuned, more vibration to the feeling, the vibe of everything that we're up to, all the many different facets. And I mean, that's living a full-on awakened life, or aware life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actualizing it, but it's also already being it. It's
Yes.
already living as if it already is. And when I think back about Metaverse, it kind of happened that way because I always had that knowing, even premonitions years ago. But I've always had that knowing, and it just kind of, I held a shape. I held like a pattern. I held a geometric pattern. I mean, I was it. I was, even though I wasn't there, I was already it. And then now I look back and like, wow, that really worked.
How cool is that?
It reminds me of Napoleon Hill comment or a quote. You are what you are because of the predominant thoughts you permit to occupy your mind.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
really gets on that vibration. All my greatest creations were done by myself or with a small group of people, and constantly focused on a goal or on a concept that I was trying to bring myself to. I have a friend that it's interesting. He wrote a PhD thesis on you can't actually be subjective when you have an objective, right? It's because your thoughts are just going to bring you there all the time. And and that's a perfect understanding of why some people see waves and some people see particles. It's like you have this static space that you are now an observer in, and you have a goal, and within that goal you've already set a resonant frequency of what you're looking for and what you're trying to create.
Yes.
And so now in this blank slate they call a laboratory, your vibrational frequency brings exactly what you've set your intention to. And so, he wrote a college thesis on that, his PhD thesis on that. And I just thought that, that really fits well into, why people see different things, or why you get to different test results. Well, this test, with these 1,000 people, and this test with these 1,000 people over here are completely different. It's because you're creating a very tight space where you've controlled all the variables and not the variables of life.
So true. That's so right on.
I love what you're talking about with the ritual of the businessman. To me, that makes so much sense. It's like, is it transfiguration too, right? Where people just look upon this image and they're basically staring at it and engraving this into their psyche, right? And so they're attuning themselves somehow to this particular thing. It's, Brian's talking about like he was already there. He's like, I'm already here and feeling this and doing this. It's fake it till you make it, but it's not quite that. It's being it and then doing.
You are it.
Yeah.
It's like you see that you already see the alternate timeline that is already happening, and you're like, okay, yeah, well, I see it. It's already there, and I'm there because that's me also. And then you merge with it.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's like kind of like that mindset, basically.
It's that quantum jumping onto the higher lifeline where you just get propelled to that place where you're a match, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know for myself, when it happens, it's like, oh, hi, I'm here. Kind of fun.
Yeah, I know. It's beautiful to see it happen.
It is. It's magic. I mean, it really is magic. You set the tone, and then once the tone is set, you continue that. So, one of the things that was probably the most influential ideas to me is the idea of pendulums, the idea that there are these thought streams in reality. And it's like, we don't really choose our thoughts. There's this stream that's kind of happening. I can guide it, I can kind of push it over here or push it over there, but I can't really choose. All this stuff is just popping up. It's just kind of coming up, whether I want it to.
Oh,
that thought would be kind of the rudder of that, ship that's riding through all these different emotions, and so it's kind of like as if we guide our thoughts more so than we can ever control them. I don't know that we can really control them, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's knowing that the thoughts are not what we are and who we are, that the thoughts are something that we're experiencing, and the real us is the timeless awareness of present moment, and those thoughts are kind of like a dog chasing or catching a scent. I loved Eckhart Tolle's analogy of that because it's so true. That's what our thoughts do, and I mean, man, especially like. It's crazy, like the stuff I've been processing and going through, like my thoughts just spin and spin. And then I stop and I realize, wait a minute, I'm watching myself do this. I'm not this. I'm not in this. I mean, I'm watching myself do this. So, and it's that separation. It's that kind of understanding, being the awareness of that.
Well,
That's why I'm such an advocate for like the trauma healing, because it seems like most people think that they are the things that happen to them and they want to identify with that,
Right.
But really, if you get rid of it and you heal those roots, then it's like, who are you?
Right.
You could be so powerful and you don't even know it. And because all these thoughts are just the same cycle repeating itself, these looping patterns.
And they become an identity to cling on to. And when you fully lose your ego, your egoic identity, and there's nothing left, there's nothingness. You're free. you
get out of victimhood, really.
And
it's pretty powerful.
Don't that we ever lose our ego. The ego is
right.
One point of awareness in the universe, experiencing itself, and spirit is all points of awareness. With the back to, can we even control our thoughts? We absolutely can. What it comes down to is your brain is a muscle, and we've trained ourselves over years and years and years and years of programming and people pleasing and all kinds of stuff, where we have these things outside of us that we decide are important, or we decide that we've given some kind of cadence to, but really ultimately you do control your mind. It's just we have been we have so many things outside of us that are posing as threats that we don't catch ourselves. But the moment you catch yourself, you can completely control your thoughts. It's just a matter if you're choosing to do that or not, or if you've developed that skill. I for one is very reactive my whole life, and now I'm at a point now where I'm just like, oh, isn't that neat?
Yeah, you're right. The key word, reactive. It's is life happening to you, or is it happening for you?
For you.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, all the crazy stuff. You got to kind of just be aware, right? Shifting to awareness, right? And I mean. There's the errant thought, dude. There's the random shit that you can't. You're like, where did that come from? And that does happen. But like overall, we have to be the gardening the garden of our mind or whatever. Weeding it. It's like somebody asked Buddha where thoughts came from, and he was like, "You're asking me where did this arrow come?" instead of pulling it out of you, right? So he didn't know. Or he maybe did, but he didn't answer that question directly. You know, he just said it's not about that. It's not about where they come from, right? Like it's about what we do with them, you know?
Mhm. Right.
Can I address something in the chat really quick?
Sure.
Dolph Bavaria said that they have permanent nerve damage under their arm from abuse and they need some way to get it out. I really suggest that you look into an acupuncture or acupressure chart and find the exact location. So if it's like under your arm, it'll be on a certain meridian, or on the outside. That's usually like your gallbladder meridian, I'm pretty sure. But each one has their own trapped emotions. So even if you have permanent damage, you can tap on that area using EFT tapping, and it should help to release some of the emotion that's trapped there, because you do store emotion. So, but it also helps to know the point, because the point will tell you what emotion is trapped there. So if you are ready to deal with it and to sit with those emotions and feel them, you'll release a lot of the pain that you're holding in your body.
Yes. So the meridians involved can be heart meridian, small intestine meridian, circulation sac. It can also be lung meridian, triple warmer. So those are things to do. And also a quick way to clear the meridians, if you are like really, you can muscle test, doing this or doing this. And if you get a very strong answer to something particular, without even knowing the meridian, you could do a quick sweep from here to the base of the back of your neck 3 times, and you'll actually feel it release if you're tuned in to what it is that's really going on for you. Just want to offer
as I
it's like you're demagnetizing the charge.
Yeah.
And you can actually use a magnet, or you can use a crystal, depending on, what it is that you like to work with.
And in Reiki, we do the same thing as to zip, like before you close off your energy field. So that way it's your feelings and stuff coming through, not somebody else's energy. So that actually shuts down your aura too. Like keeps your aura separate from others. So.
I'm a extreme empath, so I need
to zip off your
help.
energy. That's
I need all the help
thing.
I can get.
Yeah, somebody says in the chat, we manifest all the time because who we are vibrates, and that vibration propagates into our world. Somebody has a stellar vocabulary. How do you each achieve a matching vibration to your goal? What specific practice do you use to get in vibrational sync with your goal?
That's Jim Shane's question, by the way.
Oh, cool. What's up? Thanks for watching, man. For me, there's a lot of different ways, but image. James was talking earlier about using image. I will dance or laugh or try to get myself into a more playful place, a place in my body. What do I think is funny? And there's a lot of things that I think are funny. Like I love to laugh. I love to goof around. If I'll just get on and look at memes on a lot of the groups that I'm in, if I'm in a bad mood, I'll just meme it up.
Yep.
and that definitely helps. And I guess I'll make a distinction here too, because it's not just about avoiding bad feelings. I don't want to just say, oh, you should just feel great all the time, or whatever, because we do need to work through some of that stuff. Some of those things that we're carrying on that are kind of deep within us in our psyche. Those are things that we need to face. And there's, work that can be done to basically overall elevate that, state of being, that vibration. Or, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How does everybody else? How do you guys do your thing?
Hey, I work in a spot of gratitude and try to understand what's happening, why it's happening for me, why I'm feeling a certain way. But immediately, I'm a really focused person, so focusing on what I'm trying to achieve And that end result, that goal, putting myself into a position of, feeling the feelings that I'd feel if that was actually completed or I made it there. Again, back to laughing. I try to find the funny in everything, and to a fault sometimes. But whatever it needs to happen to keep myself in that resonant frequency of where I'm trying to go. Yeah, I mean, you feel the feelings, you don't resist them. But that's the key. If you feel sad, you feel angry, it isn't about resisting it. It's about stepping into it, understanding it, feeling that uncomfortable feeling, and then letting it go and moving back into where you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So I deal with a lot of hard feelings because of the work that I do. And so my go-to, especially if I'm having a hard time or I'm saturated, because what I've learned as I've gotten older, and I've been doing this kind of work with trafficking survivors for 35 years now. So I get to a point where I'm saturated. I have to set a timer and I fucking go off. I set an egg timer for 15 minutes and I go off. And I usually don't even make it to 15 minutes because I just exhaust myself just ranting and raving. And I go all out. I live alone. Nobody knows what I'm up to. And if I'm on the road and I'm in my car, I'll go in my car. I'll park somewhere very secluded. And I'll do the same thing. And I'll scream my head off. And there's something that happens when I release all of that energy. And most of it isn't mine because, when you hold space, there's an absolute transference of energy. And so I'm very conscious of where my thresholds are. And so just by going in my car and screaming my head off, and I have Palo Santo burning the whole time because I don't want it to tox out my car. I don't want it to stay in, so I'll roll down the windows afterwards. But I'm finding that to be very helpful. So a lot of my charge gets stuck in second chakra, third chakra, heart chakra, and right here. And just the venting, the expression all out, and I'm loud. So it works for me. And do I look like a crazy person? I'm sure I do. But I don't care.
Don't we all?
I mean, I got to do what I got to do. And I really highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I recommend it to many of my clients and students. Love it.
So cool.
Yeah. I like to write, and I'll write like a letter to somebody, and I'll, of course, not send it to them. I might even burn it. But just to kind of get that out.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I appreciate you. I can just see like a Tasmanian devil just beginning to spin, and books just start falling off the shelf, and forks and knives and drawers come open, and it's just probably sounds like what it sounded like when James and I were over here and we set up his spaceship in my living room. It sounded like a freaking alien invasion was coming.
I just love that it's a spaceship. That's just the best. It's the best.
It really is. It's an amazing experience.
Yeah.
It took me pissing off the healing community left and right. And like there's a lot of people that they have PhDs and they teach other modalities and stuff, and the gongs are kind of like a secondary thing that they utilize, and a lot of them worked really hard to get to where they're going, and they took offense that we were healing people. And I just kind of said, well, I'm not a healer and I'm not going to take any classes. This is a musical instrument. I'm teaching myself to play. And I'm going to be over here with my spaceship. I'm not your guru. I'm not your healer. I'm not your anything. And I'm going to nurture your experience. If you have a life-changing experience, we're going to nurture that. And, I took myself out of that. And so by not saying I was a healer, and by not tipping my hat and creating expectations, more and more people got healed, and I kind of set myself up for a different kind of trip. But ultimately, when it went full circle, my spaceship became more of a real concept than a lot of the new age stuff that's floating around. And and I healed myself in it, or it really changed my life. It took me 14 years for it to change my life, but it did a couple years ago. And I didn't know what I had until it happened to me. I was waiting to get my taste of my own medicine for a long time. And when it finally hit, it was the biggest aha moment of my life. I literally went someplace else in the galaxy and it sucked out of my body and had a life-changing experience in another dimension, which seems ridiculous to say, and don't even expect anybody to fully understand it. But that was happening to the people that come through for me. And here's the kicker: it's only 4 minutes. There's a lot of ceremonies, and a lot of people will do hour-long or 2-hour-long meditations and this or that. We're like pounding them through 4 minutes at a time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love your approach, man. And I'm hoping that we can get a little bit of a demo as well tonight of the.
Oh yeah, certainly. Like I'm thinking more towards the end. I mean, we could do it mid if you want. I'm not attached.
Okay, no, that's fine.
So cool. Yeah.
It is really cool. And I don't know who ever came up with it, but I love, like I said, man, I just love your approach. It's not about the person who's doing the thing, the cult of personality, the trend or the movement or any of that stuff. It's about us healing. It's about human beings, 100%. Elevating their life and having a better experience here, being able to help more people. And fortunate enough to know that's exactly where James is at, and it's kind of cool. And I think when you have that kind of intention, there's a lot more great things that come as a result of it. It's like, you don't have this weird importance or expectation that you're placing on somebody else. It's just, hey, I'm here to do what I'm here to do, and whatever. It's out of my hands.
Yeah.
I'm not even attached if they like it. In fact, I'm kind of intrigued if they don't like it. I want to know why, because the results are so positive. But ultimately speaking, I mean, I'm just creating an experience for somebody, and I'm introducing them to this concept. This is an introduction. If I try to tell you that your hangover would be cured and this or that, you'd be like, whatever, dude. Yeah. But then you go in, I don't tell you nothing. I'm like, get in there, hippie. Jerry Garcia's in there. They hop the fuck in there, and they come out and be like, I haven't slept in 3 days, and I felt like shit this morning. How does metal do this to me? And it's like, if I tried to tell you that was going to happen, you wouldn't have gone out of your way to try to have that experience. And so it's a little bit of trickery. I've had a couple of my mentors say that I'm channeling the Heyoka shaman, and the Heyoka shaman is the one that tricks you into your healing, and it was always about the experience, and the healing was part of it. Then awesome, but it really became really about the healing. The more and more that we did it, and without making that intention, and now that I know what exactly is happening in there, instead of I'm like seriously like a village idiot. I found a spell book in the middle of the woods, and I just kept on saying the words over and over and over and over again, and boom, magic happened. And everybody, people thought I'm some kind of wizard or something. It's like I just kind of like channeled this thing and made it happen, and so
it's so cool.
They're doing it to themselves. Essentially, all that's happening is we're putting you in a high state of vibration. We're vibrating your vagus nerve, which is opening. Your vagus nerve is running through all of your organs in your body. On the other side, we're training you to brainwave frequencies. I like to work deep into theta. people are using a lot of psychedelics and things like that in the space that we're performing at music festivals, and get a lot of outer body experiences. Their brain shuts off and their heart takes over. It says, "The brain's asleep. Let's get to work."
Yeah.
They come out and quit their jobs, or decide they're going to do something new, or have dropped trauma. I've got a lot of past life regressions and people talking to dead relatives. And which is,
That's cool.
like I never talked to nobody dead in there, but people come out and they say, like me, like we're talking to each other right here, right now.
Yeah.
They've had these conversations, and it's like, for me, it's like we never did it with intention. And now that I'm much more understanding of what we got and what we're doing, how it works, intention is going to be amplified now, because I know what I want for these folks that are taking part of it.
Yeah, I always just see it like the way I see it is I'm just another version of you making this music. So
Yeah,
basically,
I
mean, that's and that's the that's the beauty of it. It's like we're all just not to be cliche, but we're all just one one entity, one being, one consciousness, so many different fractals, variants, but it's like I feel like I'm just made to do a certain thing. Like I just do it. And but yeah, it's all about healing. It's all about raising the planetary resonance, the vibration. It's all about raising consciousness, because that's how people are going to be cool with meeting our neighbors from other planets. It's like how people are going to be all right with that stuff. You got to raise consciousness first. So
that's awesome. Yeah, it's great. And from like maybe like the law of one perspective, or getting into a higher density of consciousness, we're all just kind of like, hey, come on, and James, but it's the individual, it's like if I coach somebody, for instance, or whatever, it's like I've coached a lot of people. Sunil Godse was on our helping us out with some coaching stuff before he came on and talked to us. He said there was a study at Harvard done. They took 1,000 people. He said, how many people they all wanted to change? How many of them do you think changed? He said. The answer was one. One out of 1,000. Yeah. And that's a lot. That is a lot. That is a lot of people who have the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, Right. But when it comes down to it, it's not the person, it's not the coach, it's not any of those things. It's the it's the person themselves that has to do their own healing and their own work. 100%. There are tools, there are resources, there are methodologies, modalities, all those kind of things. But I mean, as I sit here and look at Abby now, it has made an amazing transformation. Not everybody does, but then again, some people do like 3 things and then they just flake, or they decide it's not for them, or maybe they need a different teacher or whatever to kind of show them the information. But ultimately, it's each of us individually. We have to do our own work, I guess.
Yeah.
Chop the wood and carry the water.
Yeah.
There's no
before and
escaping
after enlightenment.
And don't stop. It's about continuing to grow, because the second I don't know. I mean, we're all work in progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, Brian,
it's not a one-off event.
I'm curious. I want to hear some of your music, because I started doing some shamanic dream reentry with people for healings. Wow. So, if you got some stuff with some good drum beats, I would.
I was just gonna say that was what I was thinking. That. The drum beats, yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. There's a couple that I could send you. Yeah. Awesome. If you need, I could send you like a wave file or something. Just let me know. I'll send you what you need.
I'd be thrilled. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love it.
That's awesome. I know I do want to do more rhythmic drum, because that's just so much fun. Like I'll go off on these creative tangents and make lo-fi EDM type music, and I think I'm going to start to publish some of that stuff too.
You should.
But yeah, I think just the beats and the rhythms and just that repetition is just it brings you into that state of consciousness.
Yeah, the theta brainwave, I think.
Yeah.
I just finally did it with another person last
Mm-hmm.
week, but I've done it with myself several times because you can use a dream to re-enter and find soul fragments pretty much. So it's pretty awesome. But you need the drum beats. It really helps.
Oh heck yeah. And I'm always exploring new ideas and new so I'm always, it's like I want to, I don't know. It's always cool to hear from people what they're looking for, and it's a long way of saying I take requests.
That's awesome. Tell us a little bit about, because I don't know much about this. I remember we've talked a few times, and you were saying, hey man, I just kind of started working with some other people. We're collaborating and things like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I'd love to know.
Yeah. So I joined. I'm part of the Chill Space Network, so I'm kind of partnering with them, and they're a larger network that they have other genres, but Metaverse is kind of becoming the spearheading the genre of meditation, mindfulness music. Really cool people. I mean, just amazing people. It's cool to work with them. I'm able to, send my music over to them, and they'll release it, and they'll do all the things. And that's what I'm looking to do, because I can't, it's so hard for me to manage everything, because my brain's in the creative zone all the time. And but it's really great. It's a great network, great people, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. And that's what it's all about. It's building these networks. It's and I know with the Metaverse channel, I want to have other artists start to share their music as well on the channel itself, because the concept of Metaverse is bigger than me. It's it's in that story in and of itself is just crazy. Like the Metaverse, why I chose Metaverse, the premonitions I was feeling, and why, I sat on Metaverse, the YouTube channel for a while before I even put music on there. There was just something I knew about the concept of a metaverse, Second Life and some of those other old, those metaverses, those virtual worlds. So I knew of those concepts, and I just thought, well, this is very not connected to the natural rhythms of life. It just seems this idea of a virtual world, I guess there can be maybe some benefits to it. I don't want to, but at the same time, there needs to be a connection to spirit. And so I thought, well, it's a good play on words, because I was also spending time at a Buddhist monastery, and just right here in northern burbs in Minnesota. And we were doing the metta prayer, and it was really having a big impact on me. So I decided to just marry those two concepts together. And then now, with all the stuff that's been going on, it's all lining up. And I remember seeing this stuff in the past. It's crazy. It's like I'm in a dream. It's just nuts, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love what you're doing. It's amazing, dude. And Like your music, I almost exclusively, I do every once in a while listen to music with lyrics in it, but ever since a few months ago, I started to cut that stuff out just because I wanted to get rid of all the gunk in my head. So I love what you do. Like, you know, those little, we control our thoughts, but by deciding what we let in, you know, and it's like, that's the one thing I need to kind of focus on the most is like, what am I allowing into my psyche? You know what I mean? It's like,
100%.
Yeah. So that guardian just being like, nope. You don't need. Now, don't get me wrong. I will put on some Soundgarden and rage in my living room from time.
Oh, heck yeah.
But
you got to do that once in a while.
Absolutely.
Little Zeppelin, man. I mean,
you got to get the let out.
Heck yeah.
But, you know, like, or some Sabbath, like, you know,
yeah,
like
man.
National Acrobat, you know, and just like,
don't make me get that guitar off my wall.
I like Tool too.
Oh, Tool. I mean, they are very, they're very knowledgeable. I mean, those guys.
Right.
Lateralis. Oh,
They're
man.
calling people
Lateralis changed my life.
Holy moly. Just mind blowing.
I'm actually seeing Tool next week.
Are you?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. It's like my church.
It's awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So what can you guys tell me, Maria or Brian, what do you know about 808? Have you heard anything about that? Like, supposedly it's in a lot of song tracks, and it's supposed to be like a low frequency that's supposed to kind of mess with your psyche.
808 is actually 808 isn't in a soundtrack. 808 is something that the DJ. It's a box that DJs use for sampling. It's not the frequency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's also an area. It's also an area code.
Okay. So that's like it's got a whole bunch of stuff wrapped around it.
There are frequency combinations though that can be very damaging if played like even like
especially with intent.
Yes,
intent.
Yeah. I remember those pigtail light bulbs, and like I'd put those in, and they'd always ring at a high pitched. It was so irritating. Like it's like, what's going on with these things? Is this intentional?
Fluorescent lights. It was that way today. I walked into an office down here, and I could and I'm like, oh my god, dude! If I had to spend more than 5 minutes in here, I don't know how people do it, because it's not just that sound, but that bright ass light. You don't have to be hungover to be like, oh my god,
exactly.
Ooh.
I know.
It's imposing. It's just
it's heroin. It's just
and
heroin probably feels better.
I have one of those in my office. I never flick light switch on. So when people come in, they're always like flicking. Why don't you have the lights on? I'm like, don't do that.
I know. When I worked in I was a designer, web designer in IT sort of sector. So we'd always have our lights off too. Mm-hmm. It was the cave because we're just the designers, and but it's just with all that fluorescent light, like I can't. I just can't. I can't even.
No, it's bad.
Walk into Abby's office, it's just wires and candles.
Yeah, wires.
I've got like my little pink salt lamp and stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep, you got to have your salt lamp.
I got enough light.
Yeah,
and I got my Somavedic, so I'm getting rid of the 5G and EMF, so I'm good.
I'm super curious about that. Some of that, if it wasn't so expensive, I mean, it's like I said, you're like felt like you were going to get ripped off by, but the experiences that you've had are nothing short of like things that have happened.
It was so weird,
like seeing those geometric shapes and and stuff.
I just wish it happened every night, but it happened the first night and it happened again, like, I don't know, probably after, because I switched out I have a different one at work. They have different models. So the one I have at work doesn't do the water. It doesn't restructure water. So I plugged that one in my room because it's supposed to increase spirituality. So I was like, okay, well, we'll try this. And I didn't sleep as good that week. It was actually during Christmas. So it was like 10 days. And then I put my other one back in, and then the night I plugged it back in, I saw the shapes again. So
that's amazing.
It's weird.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So That's so cool. Yeah, because I've thought about. I was actually talking about this with a friend. We were talking about this cymatic coaster, where you play 432 on the coaster. You have your beverage, and it's 432 in the water. It's a cymatic pattern on the top.
That'd be
I
so
want
cool.
Cymatic
Me
coaster.
too.
And I'm like, so I'm like, I gotta figure out the logistics of this, how to get a speaker, how to get how do you put this together? So I'm like, this needs to happen.
Yeah. Or maybe where you could change it so you can see the different shapes.
Yeah, like different frequencies.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, different frequencies.
Yeah. So,
That'd be so cool.
yeah.
Sign me
It is
up.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
Wouldn't
gonna be
that be
pouring
fun?
salt on it though.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'll put some sand in my
Yeah.
beverage. Wait a minute. It sinks.
Well, what do you say, James?
Yeah.
I'm interested in showing folks a little bit of gonging. It's so
Heck yeah, man.
it's so cool and unique, and you know, the meditation that you made is really awesome too. But I mean, being able to get inside of that thing, you know, how I've had the opportunity to do it 3 times now, and every single time it's been a unique experience. Especially that last time was definitely the most intense so far, but
I
I
need
mean,
to
just
try that.
unreal to be surrounded, you know, by this. I don't know, like I shut my eyes and I just kind of like felt like a rubber band, you know, like it was surreal. And
I think you explained it as you felt like you were completely like I thought you said you basically became particles almost of sound and you just
Yeah.
how I felt.
you were a
you know?
frequency. You weren't
Yeah.
even
I was just going with whatever that dominant frequency was, and it was coming out of my mouth, and I was like in harmony
makes me
with it.
really want to try it.
That's amazing. That is, yeah. Oh man, I want to try this.
The last client that I had in there, we did a 45-minute long intensive session over like an 8-hour ceremony, and she explained it as her mom was holding her the whole time.
Wow.
And everything was love, and like and she was able to tap into that frequency, that vibration, and you know, I felt that when she said it. It really hit me hard. But that's what it is. It's like entering the womb again.
Exactly.
It's like coming home.
It is.
I hate to put words to it. You know, I always like to say it's a nonverbal lesson in the moment. And so, yeah, everybody has 10,000 people go in, 10,000 people have a different experience, and so trying to, create a bullet point list of what you'll experience or what it's like. It's just the most ridiculous thing, and most people don't even know what a gong is. So put that on a flyer. wait for months for them to figure that out and get that, and then maybe a year from now they'll be like, oh, maybe I'll try that thing.
Yeah.
But back to
Love that.
you talked about the recording, Owen. Is we recorded naked. We had gongs hanging from the ceilings. I mean, everything makes noises. We had over 18 mics that we put in different spots of the room. And, as we were recording and creating the tracks, we literally, mastered each of those tracks and mixed each mic in to create the fullness of the track. But ultimately, no recording has ever really duplicated what goes on in there. And
Right.
It's almost like it's like a T-shirt for your vacation, right? It's like you come home and you're like, "Oh, this T-shirt reminds me of that day."
Yeah.
Right? That's exactly what those tracks are. All they're gonna do is ignite a little something inside of you that will help you remember your experience, but ultimately it will never duplicate it.
Right. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Like with because I really want to start to build get some more like bowls, and just so I can start really feeling the music that I'm making, because I'm living in the world of headphones. So I need to start feeling it, and that just, man, what you're doing is just beautiful.
Hey man, I can share some samples with you if you like to. Like, if
I would love it.
Yeah.
I could I maybe utilize those in a Metaverse track.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not attached, dude. I want you to have fun with it. See what it does for you.
Yeah, I'll link your stuff and all that.
Or maybe we'll just collaborate on something too.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love that.
So yeah, the gong that I'm about ready to use, it's a 38-inch Peisty sound creation gong. It's actually my first gong. It's seen 14 years of crazy journeys. It's the gong that literally healed me. There's two of them that day, but this is the one that's really got it's tuned to the own vibration, 1 Earth year. The frequency of 1 Earth year is 136.10, which is the frequency of Ohm. I have another Ohm gong like that. That's just an Earth gong. It's a symphonic gong. It has a lot more richness to it, but not the roar, the rumble. So this one, I'm going to turn actually my mic settings down a little bit because I think it's going to really overpower what's going on here. Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
All right. How about now? All right, cool. Because I should be lower, but I'm sure the gong's may louder than me. So I'm gonna try that volume level. And for those of you out there who have crappy speakers, I totally apologize for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll send you a track.
Turn it down a little bit, please. It's coming in a little hot. Open. Open.
Wow.
Man.
So stuff like that.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
we have 2 of those rumblers, and then we have 7 others on the other side that really create that, mimicking the binaural beats, the phasing,
Mhm.
in those brainwave states. And but I feel like the heavy work is really done on the rocket engine side, this side, with these sound creations.
That's amazing. I mean, to translate something like that into audio, just audio format, is like I'm imagining the sample, like having a sample of that, and how to make it into an 8D audio experience.
Oh yeah, the
Beautiful.
technology is probably way better to record than when I made that last album.
Okay, sure.
I know for a fact there's definitely better microphones and better methodologies, better software to capture it.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so much low end, and so you really need bass mics and things like that. But I mean, I believe in having a bass mic and then having wider range mics. But again, you gotta really get in there and work with each of those mic samples that it's grabbed, sync it all up, and make it work together. It's a lot of it's a lot of extra work that you don't really, and like when we're doing recording too, we'd set up the entire rig, and it's amazing how much the stands and the rig itself make noises that you don't hear where you're playing. And so ended up, like I said, hanging them from the ceilings during the recording sessions, because the stands themselves creak, your clothes make noises, the little strings on the end of the mallet make noise. I mean, you'd be amazed when you got 18 mics in a room how much noise is really being captured.
Yeah, amazing.
There's a lot of challenges, and that's why I prefer the raw experience, because it there isn't any way to duplicate what I'm doing. I mean, you
Right.
can definitely play these things in a meditative way, and put
Yeah.
them on a stage and record that, and you can reproduce that. But you're not
Yeah.
going to reproduce the heavy vibrational hit that you
Yeah.
take. It's funny, the word persona in the Latin version means that which sound passes through.
Mm.
So
Mm. Oh, sure. Yeah.
we are just we are held together. All our atoms are held together with sound, and all of it is vibration. So
yeah, that's
so many
amazing.
tricks.
Yeah, like and it's true, and with music, it's like understanding the limitations of it just being audio, and can't be felt physically through unless you have a good speaker system. It all depends on the speakers you're using, I guess. But and to understand those limitations, but then utilize mix in different EQ methods and different frequencies and reverbs, and just kind of like and utilize, kind of understanding the limitations that has, but utilizing that.
Yeah, it's some guy that I met back he lived in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
He had a binaural beat microphone. It was literally like a human torso with all these microphones inside the head to record it as you would hear it. But that was like an $80,000 microphone that he couldn't just run home and get.
Right.
Set right up in our little yoga studio, and
yeah.
There's definitely, I believe there's definitely better things to capture those sounds now than there were a long time ago, and it's about time. My next album is going to be called the Depot.
Oh, I love that so much.
All right.
The little comedian inside of me just can't help myself.
Oh man, that's perfect.
And it's it's
I
got
need
the Home
that
Depot
album.
logo, just missing the H and the E.
I need that album.
I already made the album cover. I have a lot of fun with it.
That's so cool.
I gotta say though,
this one, Billy?
Even though it wasn't in person, I could feel that viscerally in my body. I really want to try it in person now. I can feel it like especially in the bottoms of my feet and in my hands. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Not what I expected either. I think of gong and I think of like the yes, exactly.
The colors and the shapes and the textures were really amazing.
Yeah.
It's a force too. I mean, it hits you, like it's like, it's like it gets you here.
Like what you're thinking.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. That's
Tibetan. This is the Tibetan antique gong. Doesn't have the same kind of resonance that this nickel silver does.
That's beautiful though. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Killer. Thank you so much, dude. Thank you for the demo.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure.
It's in the gong.
My duty to gong the planet. That's the original.
Heck yeah,
original vision.
Gong the planet.
And
I love that.
And I'm rebranding the spaceship. It's like the psychedelic spaceship was to get the kids to come in because I didn't want to be in a healing area at music festivals, and because only the people who want to be healed show up, and that's less than 1%. And it's like 15 people show up for yoga on 11 a.m. on a Saturday. I don't want to be in that space. I want to be in the thick of everything. So I put lights on it, called it a spaceship, and everybody started lining up to get inside of it. But now trying to break into new markets and do new things, and understanding, like one of my big things is I want to try to bring this to hospice. I want to try to bring it in, bring it for nurses. Nurse retention is a huge thing, and nurses are super stressed out.
Yeah.
We're trying to, work out a program that would allow them to take advantage of this type of stuff. And so psychedelic spaceship isn't really appropriate for medical professionals. And so I'm kind of moving into a new branding where it's going to be called the Mantrayana, which is Sanskrit for sound vehicle.
Beautiful. That's
You know, it's
very
weird.
cool. Yeah. No, like you're saying, it's amazing. I read the comments I get on the channel, and everybody, in the nursing profession or whatever profession, especially with everything going on in the world right now, it's just people need, we all need just something as simple as music, something as simple as profound as music that could all help us, and it's so freaking healing. It's just,
But,
it's
I
just,
think
yeah,
regular music, our favorite songs heal us.
Mhm.
Like
absolutely.
you ever have a shitty day and you're driving, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden you hear that one song comes on the
Yeah.
radio, and it like just brings you to a new vibration, right? It's just
I
like
throw on some Daft Punk, and I'm happy.
I love Daft Punk too.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic. One day they'll play Coachella. One day it'll happen.
Yep.
now you just got to go to the trash vents at Burning Man. They're there every year.
That's cool.
It's a running joke. People
Yeah.
dress up as Daft Punk and
Oh,
they'll
I
play
bet.
at the edge, and so you tell
Okay.
all the newbies, "Hey, Daft Punk is playing at the trash
No
vent."
way.
They ride their bike like 6 miles, and there's just two dudes with helmets on.
Oh,
Playing a
that's
Daft
awesome.
Punk record.
Yeah,
But like it's a running joke.
and they're all on acid or something. Like, what's going on? Yeah.
I
Well,
hope so.
yeah.
Right. I know,
Why else
right?
would you go to Burning Man?
I mean, geez.
No, how much fun! I really appreciate it, guys. Thanks for hanging out tonight,
Yeah.
Brian. I really appreciate it, and we've been talking back and forth for quite a while now. So it's really
Yeah.
cool to get some hang time in, and I appreciate you coming out to kick it with us. I'm really glad that
Oh, anytime,
you're
man.
coming
So
out,
much fun.
engaging with the people in your audience and stuff, and just keep
Yeah.
doing your amazing work. Just if you want to go ahead and just to drop, let us know what you're working on, where people can find you, all that good stuff.
Yeah, man. Working on so many things. So I'm getting the whole library, Metaverse library, out in release form in just EPs and albums and singles. And that's all being pushed out on YouTube Music, and it's going to be eventually, well, soon, on the other streaming channels and stuff. But you can just find me on YouTube, just youtube.com/metaverse, METTA, or metaverse.com, METTA verse.com. So
Awesome. Yeah, I got those in the show
I'm
notes.
around.
I follow you on Spotify too, people. So people.
Oh, cool.
know.
Yeah, so I'm working on getting all the music up on there too. It's quite a process because I'm going through old songs and remastering, and but it's going to be totally worth it. And yeah, and always working on like 5 songs at once. So
I love that.
I've been playing the same song forever.
I have several, irons in the fire at all times.
yeah,
For
I think
me-
it's important. Yeah.
Because if I just focus on one thing, then I give it way too much emphasis.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
So
Yep.
that's awesome.
Yeah. But-
James, tell us about your Sonic Portal and where people can find you and what you're working on.
So you can find me at Instagram /Sonic Portal. You can also find me through the Blue Mystic, Blue Collar Mystics website and Facebook group. And I got various projects, or several projects at various stages of development, all of which are being retooled, rebranded, or brought to market currently. So it's like stay tuned. But you can always find me at Sonic Portal on Instagram.
Awesome. Maria, tell people if they don't already know, and they should. They really should. Where folks can connect with you.
You can find me on the YouTube, Love, Truth, and Beauty. That's my new YouTube. And we're getting ready to launch lovetruthandbeauty.com. That's probably going to happen in the next few days. And also find me on the Instagram at Dakini.kiss and I am working multiple projects as always. It's kind of like circuit training, really. So I'm writing like a fiend. I'm on the piano. I'm retooling around on the bass and the guitar and my noisemakers, and just really exploring that in a new way, creatively speaking, and like really kind of grooving along to it. So I'm kind of in hermit mode. Fun.
I
like
understand that. Yeah. I go in that mode.
That's awesome. That's great. Thank you, Maria. And Abby, please tell people what you're up to and where they can holler at you.
You can find me on Instagram at abstract_dreamer. And I do a lot of healings and dream work. Dreams are my thing, just because it's part of my own inner alchemy. I'm getting ready to relaunch a group that we started on, actually a friend started on Clubhouse. It's called the Dream Lab, but we're getting ready to do Dream Lab 2.0. And we hope to show some of the really like woo-woo stuff that happens when you get a bunch of dreamers who share their dreams on a regular basis. Awesome. So it's pretty interesting stuff. So that should be launching March 5th. I'm not really sure the platform yet. We haven't quite figured out the details. So
that's awesome. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I can vouch and attest to your work as well as Janine's, the friend you mentioned. So yeah, be sure to check that out, everybody. You can find me on Instagram as well at Bootsy Greenwood on the ones and zeros. I'm on all the things at stripper name Bootsy Greenwood. So do it. Go find me. Shoot us a message. Let us know how you're doing. We want to hear your story. Share it with us. I have some amazing content coming through this pipeline. Couldn't be more excited about this effort and grateful for everybody for collaborating. I want to thank you all so much, and everybody who's listening. It's developing into just a wonderful community, and I'm really excited to share and connect. So thanks everybody for checking out this episode. Be sure to subscribe, rate the podcast, all that YouTuber stuff. And we'll see you guys next week on Tuesday. All right. Peace out.
Later, gang.